Hi, I'm Madison. I read a lot, and not just because I work at the library, though she does play a huge role in how I read. As someone who is always gonna try to err on the side of saving money, I have a certain way of consuming books that I like to stick by. Obviously, do whatever you want, whatever works for you. But I will read a book for the first time usually using Libby, which is an app or a website, and it's free with the library card. Do yourself a favor and get a library card. They have so much to offer nowadays. Just so you know, there is a much easier way to go about it for free if you want to do that. So if you don't know me, you're not a relative or a friend of mine. Hi, if you are. I have many interests, and reading is a big one, but it wasn't always though. I grew up reading for fun a lot, but I started reading the Twilight series at New Moon, so I didn't always get it right. And then just kind of stopped somewhere between like high school and the start of college, and then throughout college did not read for fun at all. I didn't start reading for fun again until like 2023 because I discovered Libby and started listening to audiobooks, specifically memoirs, and those like really got me back into reading. Yeah, so here's all the books that I've read in the first half of 2025. We're in August now. I read 24 and I DNF'd 1. We'll get into it. So I keep track of these in Notion, and I categorize them based on like their literal genre, but also like some genres I kind of just came up with based on the vibe. So yeah, keep watching if you care. If you don't, okay, let's get into it. Just kidding. First, I wanted to put in some disclaimers because the internet. First off, no spoilers are going to be given, but I am going to be talking about main plot and some characters. Second, I'm just a woman in her bedroom. It's not that serious. These are just my opinions, so please be normal. Lastly, I use a pretty standard 5-star system, but I do reserve the full 5 stars for a book that I'd reread because I love them so much. And then 4.5 stars means I loved it, but I don't know if I'd read it again because maybe they're graphic or really information heavy, whatever the reason. So yes, for real this time. Let's get into it. Starting off with a very popular author, Emily Henry. The first book that I read this year is Happy Place. Basically, Happy Place is like a second chance romance, but also like forced proximity kind of thing. There is a couple that are working through their breakup. They were engaged, so that sucks. But they're keeping their breakup a secret from their friends, because that always works out well. Every year, the whole group goes on a retreat to a cottage in Maine that they call their happy place. They basically have to try to pretend they're still together, and of course it's messy and awkward until it's not. I gave this 3.5 stars. I did think the story was very cute. I didn't have many problems with it. The problems that I did have with it were that the male love interest was kind of just like sweet hot guy with the hair and is like nice. I kind of wanted more from him. And the group of the female friends were cute, just not super relatable or realistic in my opinion, by me. But you know, I know it's a fictional book and I do not mind corny, but their relationships were just a little too perfect for me. I don't know, that's just me. But overall, not bad at all. And then the next one is a heavy hitter for sure. It's I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. She was French, I believe, so I hope I said that right. Yeah, this one of 5-star rating for me like that so easily. As soon as I was done with it, I was so excited to log it. This is a science fiction like dystopian vibe. The basic plot, without saying anything really, is 39 women and 1 young girl are held as prisoners underground in a cage. All I pictured was Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, even though they're not like in a cage necessarily. The young girl is the only one with no memory of the outside world, and nobody knows why they're imprisoned or why there's one little girl and the rest of them are like older women. Then one day everything changes. That's literally all I want to say because I think everyone should read this. It's so short, so captivating, and if you haven't really given like sci-fi a try, this is a fantastic start. Next, Horror for Weenies by Emily C. Hughes. Where are all my bitches who hate scary movies? Well, hate's a strong word, but thriller horror movies are very hard for me to get through. Of course, like nobody really enjoys jump scares, but I don't like jump scares. I don't like gore because I hate like imagery sticking with you after you've watched something and it's scary imagery, and then my brain will just like replay it over and over because it hates me. But for my scaredy ass to sit in a movie theater and watch a scary movie, I have to know if it's not just like gore for gore's sake, but the last one I saw, for example, was Sinners, and
I heard you loud and clear, but then you stuck your tongue in.
Yeah, I love that movie. Oh my god, it's so good. But this book, Horror for Weenies, basically retells the plots of well-known and very influential horror movies, and it gives an explanation of like the themes and the meanings behind them, because of course they have deeper meanings. Like the Babadook, I had no idea what that one was really about. I just thought it was like scary guy in a top hat. It helped me think deeper about a lot of movies that I'd never seen and appreciate like the meanings and the symbolism of them without having to freak my own ass out and watch them. And book 4 is A Funny Story by Emily Henry. I gave it 5 stars. The only note I wrote in my Notion about this, because sometimes I write notes or I write down quotes that I like, the only note I wrote for Funny Story was So, yeah. It basically follows a woman that is seconds from marrying this dude until he changes his mind and goes with his longtime friend instead. And the funny thing is, the longtime friend was also in a relationship. So the sad leftover men and women are now living together, and they get invites to their ex's wedding. Ew. But it's okay because they lie to their exes and say that now they're dating when they're not. But of course, real feelings grow. Eventually, there's a lot more characters and dynamics that come in. This is definitely my favorite Emily Henry book. I don't even know exactly why, other than the romance is good. The characters are fleshed out. It's funny at times, and overall just made me feel warm inside. And that's all I can ask for. The next book I can't even talk about too much because it'll raise my blood pressure. None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. It was recommended to me by a coworker, and girl, thank you, but also why. But it was so fun. I haven't had that much fun reading a book in a while. But this book basically follows 2 women that happen to share the same birthday. They make a podcast together. One of them is already like an influencer, but one of them is just like a normal woman. And it's mostly written in like interview format because of the podcast, which is really interesting. But I can't even get into the plot because I think everyone should go into this book not knowing a damn thing, like I did. If you like books about crazy, obsessive freaks, there you go. Book number 6 I read this year was How the Word Is Passed, A Reckoning with the History of Slavery Across America. The author Clint Smith basically visits different former plantations and other sites of just great suffering, specifically for Black people. And he analyzes how like America loves to rewrite history and how these oppressive structures kind of like stay in place and continue to inflict harm by not telling the whole truth about how slavery was and is used in this country. Though I think everyone should read this. It is, of course, very heavy and full of a lot of information. A lot of those stories will definitely stick with me. I wrote down a lot, like little passages and stuff, because I learned so much. And everyone jokes that like the American public school system failed me, but like seriously. The next one is a memoir called I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. This one is by Baek Sehee. I don't know. I'm sorry. The book is basically Sehee having conversations with her psychiatrist about her mental health struggles, which includes depression. So I personally didn't find a ton of new information, but that's only because I already read a lot of like psychology, mental health books. But if you haven't really delved into that and you want to, you're related all to like being depressed, having depression, and you're able to like read content about that, I think it's a good start. And there were a lot of moments where I said, hey, I do that. Not bad at all. Just I'm probably not the perfect audience to be reading it since I've really read more things that have given me more like knowledge, and this is a very like personal story. This next one was the first book of essays that I read this year, and that's Tacky, Love Letters to the Worst Culture We Have to Offer by Rax King. It talks about like coming of age in the 2000s and like reality shows of the day, cringy bands, overall just nostalgia for any like millennial. Now, I'm not a millennial. I'm an elder Gen Z, but I did enjoy most of the book and the humor. So she kind of uses these moments in her life, these pieces of media or things that influenced her, and kind of the deeper things that she was going through at the time. Eventually, the book just became more about her teenage / like young adult love life. And I was honestly less interested in that, but that's just me. But there was some really funny, really good quotes from there. She was talking about being a mess, being perceived as the hot mess, which usually only women and girls are described as. Are you surprised? Anyway, she says, quote, "And to be a woman anywhere, you've got to be comfortable being a mess. You'll get trampled otherwise." Okay, so if you've read this next book, you'll either agree with me or burn me at the stake. This is the only book that I DNF'd so far this year. It is The Dinner by Herman Koch. I don't know if that's how you say it, but I don't want to say the other way that I think it might be said. It's basically about like this one night with some like flashbacks to before, where these two couples go out to dinner, and it's just like tension filled because they have to like discuss something about their kids because they're like relatives, but this person doesn't want to talk about it, but this person does, and it just went back and forth for way too long, and I just got annoyed. It's not a long book at all, but I did have to skim forward eventually, and like the build up was just too much for like the stupid result, I think. I don't know. I didn't finish it, but I did look up like the ending because it just pissed me off because it was boring. It's kind of just like shitty people just being shitty, and I was kind of like, what is like the message? I don't know what I was supposed to take away from it, and I think that was part of it too, because I feel like I'm not that hard to like get invested in something, and I'll kind of just like, you know, I'll buy into things. Yeah, I just didn't really get it. Now, the most adorable palette cleanser that there ever was, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanna. Sorry if I said that wrong. It was just an adorable, like, romantic-y. It follows a witch in Britain that has to hide her magic and stay away from other witches because she was told that. She's also an orphan and a content creator. She pretends to be a witch online, until she's clocked hard as fuck by an old gay man that asks her for help to train his 3 little witch children. They are orphans too, though, because every witch is an orphan. So he kind of took them in at this huge remote house. The romance element was between the main witch woman and then this grumpy guy that is one of the 3 little witches, like, guardians. They have like several people there. It was just a cute book with elements of like found family, also like My Whole Life is a Lie. I only gave it 3.5 stars because I wanted a bit more romance. Maybe I'm just greedy. I liked it though. Hard left turn into books about trauma. I read What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu. It is a memoir about not only the author's trauma and PTSD, but her journey of treatment and healing. I won't go too into it because the book is very graphic, but as the book goes more into like her treatment process, there were so many things that her and her psychiatrist said that hit me, and very helpful advice, I think. If you can read through the graphic like retellings of like a childhood abuse, I think it is so worth the read. We're like halfway through the list, so stick with me. Another hard left. Back into romance. I read The Paradise Problem. This one is written by 2 authors. They go by Christina Lauren because those are both of their first names. The only note I wrote was, Christina Lauren, y'all are nasty. And yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Basically, there's like this fake couple that only got married for access to cheaper college housing. Love America, yes, yes. They plan to divorce as soon as they graduate, right? Fast forward 3 years. The woman isn't doing great as a starving artist. She's doing good at being a starving artist, but she's starving, right? And the man is a fucking Stanford professor, and he's doing fine for himself. Plus, he has a very wealthy family, like succession level. He's like heir to the family, like conglomerate and all that. He's waiting on an inheritance from his dead grandpa, but he has to be married for 5 years in order to get it. So, remember how I said they planned to divorce? Yeah, the woman thought they were divorced, and they were not. I can't really remember exactly why, but of course, the main characters reunite so he can secure the inheritance on a big family trip, and he's also gonna pay the woman very well. So they go on the trip with the rich family, and basically things happen, and there's like complicated family dynamics. Yeah, I just liked it. I don't know. I love a book where there's a fake relationship and like, oh no, we have to smooch. What are we gonna do? I liked it a lot. It's kind of dumb, but who cares? I had fun. I don't know how many more left turns we can take. We're like circling the block at this point. But the next book I read, number 13, lucky number 13, is Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. Now, I've read almost all of Miss Flynn's books. She is bonkers in the best way. I genuinely don't know how people come up with something like this. I give it 4 stars. Let me tell you about the plot a little bit. It follows a woman whose testimony that she gave as a child put her own brother in prison for their family's murders. If you can kind of follow along with that, it's very complicated. The brother is already like the town misfit, so no one likes his ass. And the woman is kind of realizing in like the present day that her whole family was hiding things that day that they were killed. It basically jumps like back and forth between past, present, and like different characters' perspectives, and big reveal at the end of like how things happened and all the decisions that each family member made that kind of led them to their demise. It's crazy. I thought I was gonna guess the ending a million times, but nope. What a crazy ass book. I wouldn't reread it because of how disturbing it is. Please look into possible like content warnings before you read, because I was not expecting like one very disturbing bad part. Moving on, the next book I read was Remember, The Science of Memory and the Art of Forgetting by Lisa Genova. She is a neuroscientist, and it is a nonfiction book about, yes, memory. It was so easy to read and comprehend. It wasn't very long, and I learned so much. It being obviously based in science, I was prepared to have to like look up a bunch of definitions for words and like reread a sentence a million times, but no, it was very easy to comprehend. I have a not great memory. If you know me at all, you know that, and I'm sorry, you've probably been victim to that. I forget a lot of things. So it was fascinating to learn about how your brain creates memories and recalls them, and I have a hard time recalling memories, but it was also reassuring because that doesn't necessarily mean that I have like early onset Alzheimer's. That's not really how it works, so that's nice to know. Next, I read Bad Feminist by Roxanne Gay. I feel like I have to justify my ratings for them, but it's just my opinion. You know, it doesn't matter. Last year, I read her memoir, Hunger, and whoa, that was a 4.5-star read for me for sure. And Bad Feminist is like a book of essays that is, of course, very different. And I learned a lot about the competitive Scrabble community. And I definitely wrote several quotes down from this book that hit me like a truck. Each essay is different, most about feminism and like gender politics and different things like that. But there are also some just like kind of more light ones, like the one about Scrabble. Very interesting. One thing I did find kind of funny though, this book came out in 2014, right? So it's very much of the time. That was, I think, the year that I saw 5 Seconds of Summer Open for One Direction. It was a good year. But yeah, since it came out in 2014, the author didn't have this information that we have now, but she did talk about the fact that Tyler, the Creator, used homophobic slurs in his music, and how him being friends with known queer man Frank Ocean made it even more like appalling. Now, of course, we know the flower boy Igor of it all. So it's just a little funny looking back. Like, well. Now, onto Emily Henry's newest book that came out this year, Great Big Beautiful Life. I had to wait so long for the ebook of this. I did want more romance and like bonding between the two love interests, but I did enjoy it overall. This gets compared to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo a lot. They're like completely different though. This one's about a woman who is like a struggling writer looking for a big break and tracks down this woman who is like the golden age of Hollywood's like Paris Hilton and is now a recluse, whereabouts unknown. Now the former star invites both the struggling writer and this guy who's also a writer, but he's like well known for his biographies, and they're both competing to write her biography over the course of a month. So she has him on a trial run, but it has like a bit of a mystery. And again, no spoilers, but the epilogue, I wish I didn't read it. That part just wasn't for me. A very specific part. I don't know if that's a hot take. Of course I had to read it, but yeah, it didn't really ruin the book for me. The next one wasn't nearly as good of a romance. It is The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. Miss Christina and Miss Lauren are kind of hit or miss for me. I haven't read all of their books, but there are definitely some that I like more than others. This book is about this like absolute pushover girl. It's okay, we're all pushovers at some point. Who is the assistant to a married couple that have their own like HGTV kind of show and like books, and they have like the perfect marriage kind of thing. Now, the assistant has done like all of the work, all of the design stuff, all of the planning, and like everything basically that like the couple has been taking credit for, and she's been doing that for years. And the other problem is, you know, the married couple hates each other. Their assistant's love interest is carpenter guy turned unofficial assistant for the married guy, and both of the assistants are forced to go on a book tour with the fighting couple. I liked it at first. I just kind of got over it at a certain point, and I don't know, they just kind of lost me. I don't even remember exactly why. I just was kind of it was almost tea. Book number 18, It is called The Tell by Amy Griffin. It is another memoir about devastating, awful trauma. It's hard for me to read these kind of books because I feel like I'm reading someone else's trauma and like awful experiences that they went through. But it's just like, you know, it's all personal, it's all vibes. The Tell is focused on the author's journey to uncovering and treating her traumatic childhood memories. Again, to avoid triggering topics, I won't go into any details. Look into the content warnings before reading, but it was incredibly written, obviously very sad and very heavy, but also super interesting to learn about her treatment process, because she used MDMA with a licensed professional in the room as like a memory recovery tool. So that was interesting because, like I said earlier, I have a bad memory, so it intrigues me. I'm not gonna do it anytime soon. I'm just like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. That's cool. So this is another book talk ass book. It is Motherthing by Ainslie Hogarth. Now, I didn't know that people were being told that this was like a body horror or like very gory book, because honestly, as a scaredy cat, it was not scary to me at all, just kind of like creepy. There were a couple like graphic parts, but it was more just kind of like a little gross. I gave it 3.5 stars. In summary, it's about a married couple who live with the husband's mother, but then the bitch dies and then they're haunted by her. The husband is severely depressed and hallucinating, and his mom's like talking to him. It's unclear if we're supposed to live in like a paranormal universe. Now, you know, in reality, me talking in reality right here, right now, I am not saying that I don't believe in ghosts. I'm just saying, like, based on the book, I don't know if ghosts are supposed to exist or it's supposed to be like the characters going crazy. But basically the husband is doing awful and the wife is actually crazy already and already has mommy issues down. So she tries to like fill that void basically, and was unsuccessful in doing it with her mother-in-law. So she does it other ways. But I won't go into that. The ending is cuckoo bananas and kind of absurd, but the journey was kind of fun. We are almost done. The next one is Back After This by Linda Holmes. This is another little romance, little rom-com book. It is about this woman who works at a podcast company as like a producer, but also she does like kind of everything. She's giving like people pleaser, scared to stand up for herself or make any changes in her life that would probably make her life way better, until she like runs into this sweet, hot guy several times and is like, wait, are we meant to be together? It's kind of cute how they meet by coincidence like over and over, but one big gripe that I have with this book is that it is one of those that has a page break every time things get hot and heavy. Now, like, I don't need graphic details. If I just wanted graphic details, I know where to go. I just don't appreciate the like, and he closed the bedroom door page break. The next morning he made us waffles. Be so fucking for real, girl. I genuinely don't know how to talk about this next book. Let's try, I guess. It is Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I'm sorry if I said that wrong again. The main character is an orphan son of Iranian immigrants and is newly sober, poet, well-read king. He's basically on a search for inspiration for his big like manifesto about martyrism, what it is to be a martyr, and like his family and how his family and then him grew up with the idea that to be a martyr is everything, and how that has to deal with like his Iranian like background. And I love reading about people's experiences that were born in another country and then immigrated to America like very young, or their parents are immigrants. So anyway, the main character travels to the Big Apple to meet with a terminally ill artist that is living her last days in a museum, a version of like the artist is present. I can't even go past that because I just need y'all to read if you haven't already, and then we can all gather in the town plaza and discuss and drink lemonade, because the twists, I thought I knew, but not really. No, of course not. In the very end, I had to stare out the window and go nonverbal. I was reading this on a road trip and my fiance was driving next to me and he's like, hey, are you good? And I couldn't even get into it. Oh, just incredible. This next one is going to be kind of short because I started reading it months ago, and then it expired before I read the last chapter, and it went to the next bitch in line. So I had to wait 10 weeks just to read the last chapter. So that's nice. It is called Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle by Emily and Amelia Nagasaki. I gave it 3.5 stars, but it's probably not accurate because too much time passed and I forgot. So I don't know. I thought it was pretty helpful and insightful. It's basically about why like women and people that raised and socialized as women experience burnout differently than like cis men, and it uses science to like help you learn to minimize stress and manage your emotions where you can. And I wrote down a lot of quotes that I found helpful, but I can't really say much because of the circumstances, so I'm sorry. So this one was a random find on Libby, and I wanted to kiss Libby herself because I loved it so much. It is God of the Woods by Liz Moore. It's a thriller, mystery, maybe more of a suspense mystery. I don't know, but picture this, okay? It is an empty summer camp in the 60s, and there's a wealthy family that lives nearby that owns the camp, all the land around it. The 8-year-old son of that wealthy family goes missing. Nobody knows what the hell happened. Years pass. It is now 1975, and summer camp is open. That same wealthy family now loses their 13-year-old daughter, and nobody knows where she is, and they're trying to find her. That's all I want to say, because there are so many characters, and it's so detailed of a universe. It's kind of a long book, but holy shit, if you like mystery, you will probably like this, because it kept me guessing and suspecting everyone. There were little things that happened that I called, but not the big answers to the questions. And there was one character that I loved most, but of course is also a suspect at times, so I won't say who, but I love you, girl. Yeah, I still think about this book, and it's been like a month. Okay, now the second book that I kind of hated this year. It is called, long ass title, it's way too long, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke and Other Misfortunes by Eric LaRocca. So I gave this 2 stars. It's a thriller, I guess. I don't know. It was like 3 different stories, and they didn't like intertwine in any way. They're just completely separate stories and like written differently every time. Each one started interesting and then ended up being stupid. Eric, I'm sorry, I didn't enjoy them. Maybe it's because there's like themes of religious trauma, and I can't personally relate to that. And they're also kind of about like going too far for your faith or for love. I don't know, it's kind of dumb. Even if I like explained the plot of the stories, I'd sound crazy. So just read the summary online or something, because to me it's not worth it to read the book. Sorry. So yeah, I needed another palate cleanser, and I went to the popular romance section of Libby and finally read something that has popped up in front of me many times. It's Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Now I'm always a little scared to start reading from new romance authors, just because I hate getting invested in characters and like the story just for someone to piss me off or for some dumbass plot point. That being said, Abby Jimenez, I was not aware of your game, girl. Now, there is kind of a dumb premise. Okay, and I'll tell you that right now. So this guy posts on Am I the Asshole on Reddit about how he has a dating curse in which he'll date a woman and then they break up, and then she finds her like soulmate, gets married happily ever after, and the female love interest also has this curse, reaches out to the guy being like, hey, I have the same problem, oh, isn't it terrible, haha. And then the guy's like, wow, yeah, that sucks, hey, let's like date and break the curse. But this book isn't all like perfect and easy, because there's actual conflict and like real adult issues, which I was not expecting. I love the characters, their like relationship dynamics, and at times it made me want to cry. I very much enjoyed it. I would reread it, but not anytime soon, because it made me feel a lot of things, but I really liked it. Okay, and then the very last book that I just finished reading is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. I have been meaning to read this book for a long time, I feel like. I had always seen it on the shelf at the library, and I was always like, I gotta look into that. What is that about? I'm so glad I finally got around to it. So basically, it's the 1940s, and a woman named Henrietta Lacks, a poor southern tobacco farmer that worked the same land as her enslaved ancestors. She was just at the segregated hospital for treating her cervical cancer. A doctor takes some of her cancer cells and sends them to a scientist who's working on a way to create immortal cells that live forever, because it's like a big thing that people want to like be the first to create the immortal cells. And Henrietta Lacks cells did just that. They never died, as long as they were in culture, in the solution that they're into, whatever, science shit. They were known by scientists as HeLa cells, taking the first 2 letters of her first name and last name. Decades later, now, if you put all of the HeLa cells ever created on a scale, they'd weigh as much as 100 Empire State Buildings. That's how widespread this woman's cells are. They were used to create the polio vaccine, make breakthroughs in IVF, and cloning and so many things. But the author basically goes on a journey of trying to find what little information is out there about the woman behind all of these scientific advancements. The author, I forgot to say her name, is Rebecca Skloot, and over the decade that she took looking into this, uncovers the real story behind everything and gives a lot of information about how buying cells worked in the 50s, and like a lot of history and like background information that definitely helps you like understand the scope of the situation and how important it was. And it's like devastating at times for sure. And over the course of the decade that Rebecca had interviewed the family, she grew very close to them. But the Laxes were basically like kept in the dark by scientists and doctors and like everybody. They didn't really know the full story of everything until like Rebecca came around asking them questions, which is insane to me. But even if you don't read this book, I think it is so important to learn about Henrietta's story because she's been so unrecognized by the majority of people for so long. But yeah, I find these kind of stories very interesting of like people that history forgot about or left out. That basically concludes all of the books that I read so far this year. Maybe I'll do another one in December. I'm reading a book right now about neuroscience and the role of dopamine in our lives. See, I like to read science stuff, but I can't read it all the time. And I like to read history stuff, but I can't read it all the time. I gotta have mysteries and silly romance. I gotta try different things. I'm a Gemini, I can't be in one place too long. Yeah, if you've read any of these, let me know what you thought. I just love learning about other people's perspectives and how they took in the same content that I took in. And maybe let me know what your favorite book that you've read so far this year is. I'm curious. Thanks for watching this. If you're seeing this, that means I finally uploaded a video. And if you're a family member of mine, don't tell me that you watched this. It's embarrassing, guys, please. I know I'm like doing this and I'm putting myself out there, but it's still like embarrassing, you know? You don't have to tell me anything. Just like, don't be like, oh, you're doing YouTube, now you're gonna be a YouTuber. I'm just trying to have fun and I just like stuff and I just want to talk about stuff that I like. Yeah. So, like I said at the beginning of this, I have a lot of interests, so I don't know what the hell this channel is gonna be. It's gonna be a lot of different things probably. If you care, you can subscribe. If you don't, that's cool too. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one, or whatever the hell I'm gonna do next. Who knows?